Alright friends, welcome back to Tactical Enlightenment. You're watching another episode of our Expert Tactics series, showing some of the most difficult battles I've faced in my campaign, and then deploying complicated and unique tactics to overcome these formidable challenges. Alright friends, welcome back to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Today we're going to jump right into battle, well, with one exception. We've got this fuck. For people who don't know, this is one of the worst leaders in my small kingdom here. This guy named Castor. This fucking 3.5 foot ridiculous looking motherfucker. Look at taken prisoner. He always fucking loses battles, and I'm sick of it. So I'm gonna go in and actually disband his army. I don't know if this is an option people knew about. I know that's a funny excerpt way to start this episode, but I'm going to have somebody else hopefully lead the defense of that keep up there. Meanwhile, we are going to try to defend this keep. Lagetta is constantly under siege, and it's being attacked by a large force of Western Empire. We're outnumbered about 2.5-1, but with the smaller amount of troops, and I say small relative to the normal battles we're fighting, 2,500, I'm going to run a normal player damage just to increase the difficulty, right? People want to see authentic, very difficult battles, then you've come to the right place. And tactically, I see an opportunity here. I see an opportunity to do some interesting things with this rock formation in this battlefield. It actually kind of makes me think of the Battle of Thermopylae. The movie, of course, the battle itself, the Greeks against the Persians, has been talked about, and at this stage is almost more myth than truth. Maybe at some point in this battle, if it's not Fast and Furious the whole point, I'll be able to talk a little bit about it. But look at that little opening there. That's perfect for us to try to channel the enemy through and sort of recreate, have our own 300 episode here on Tactical Enlightenment. So I've positioned my cav there on the right, and it's doing exactly what I hoped it would do. The enemy just roared in with a bunch of their own heavy cav, and it stopped most of them from getting through. It distracted and or sort of created a traffic jam here where their 100+ heavy horse can't go in and just eviscerate my forces as we set up. I'm going to work kind of around the margins of this force, and as long as I see horse archers back there kind of fucking with my troops, but I got to get my troops into position, or else this is not even going to be a recording. It's just going to be something I mumble into my mic, and won't be an episode worth saving to you folks. So my troops are getting into position. There's some horse archers on the far side there, but this looks like it's going to be a go here. That's a lot of horse archers. Limited resources in this battle here. I've got a nice infantry block here, 1st Infantry and 6th Infantry. My idea here, tactically, with this battle is to try to create a pinch point, of course, just like the real 300. What we're going to try to do is sort of funnel the enemy through this small opening. I mean, it's the kind of opening where maybe 4 or 5 guys could go through at the same time, and that's the whole idea, you know, of the battle of the 300 Spartans. Is to, if you're highly outnumbered, is to fight the enemy where their numbers don't mean as significant advantages, right? I can see 356 archers up there, right? But they're not going to be able to shoot at us because of these rock walls, right? So what I can do is I've got my infantry in here, and we're basically going to try to channel the enemy in there. Now, in all seriousness, all reality, folks, of course, this is not realistic. You know, if you were playing a human opponent here, they would simply go around, flank you or something like that. But it's still a difficult challenge. I've got my 1st Infantry there in a shield wall. You know, anytime you're fighting almost 3 times the amount of troops that you have, and these are elite troops. Look at, it's like all elite troops that we're killing. Ah, dude, you ran right in front of me. You know, you're gonna have a hard time fighting. So I'm bringing my 1st Infantry up here just to sort of create a wedge in there. I want to create basically a plug in this. I want to dam up this dike, and then look at my archers are positioned just to rake. Archers and skirmishers right next to me here, just positioned just to rake any of their units in that little channel with nasty arrow fire. Now I want them coming out, right? You can see I'm pulling my troops back here a little bit. I want the enemy to come out a little bit, because if they're so jammed in that like only 2 or 3 guys can come through that hole, there's not enough even for us to kill, right? I don't want to fire 200 arrows into one guy. I want to be efficient here. We're going to run out of ammunition if we're not careful. But again, just to finish the point, obviously this is not realistic to real life, but it still presents a good challenge, a good opportunity to show some tactics here in Bannerlord. we'll just, for the sake of imagination, because the whole game is an imagination, right? This is all just pixels. We'll just say that on both sides of this, there's no way for the enemy to get around, and this was like their paths, right? We're trying to prevent these Persians. They don't look like Persians at all, but we're trying to prevent these Persians from getting to Sparta, you know, and I'm Leonidas with a much worse accent and no sexy voice. So what I'm going to be doing here is exactly what you see. It's going to be kind of a rinse and repeat. I got my troops getting far too far up there. I've already killed like 3 of my troops here. Like, Leonidas probably didn't. He must not have had the friendly fire setting on. He probably got to just throw javelins without any risk of killing his buddies. But all we're going to do basically is force the enemy come through there. I'm kind of watching the sides here. And as they do, I will move my infantry up. Because the one thing I can't allow here is I can't allow like 100 infantry to pour through. How come none are coming? Let's take a peek here. Oh, there they are. Holy shit. It's mostly archers, but that is a fuck ton of troops. We got to get out of here before we get shot off our horse. There's definitely a chance they're going to filter around the edges of this fight at some point. Oops, oh shit. The cavalry poured in when I wasn't looking. None of these captains were doing a good job. So what we're going to do is exactly what I just said. Anytime the enemy starts to stream through, we're going to attack. And in this case, we're attacking with the 1st, which is our heavy infantry, our 6th, that's our skirmishers, and our 8th. And that's my elite, most powerful unit, full of family members and high-level companions. Right? All we're trying to do is sort of stem the tide. Now that was mostly cav, which is problematic, but you can see they're getting stuck on the dead horses. But their cavalry can get around already anyway, right? I've already had their horse archers are coming on over there, and I can assign my archers and a few cav. I've got just a few cav to attack them. But what I want to prevent is the enemy from pouring through a huge amount of infantry. And here they come, right? Here comes a big shield wall. It looks exactly like the Persians probably in the Battle of 300. And as soon as they're kind of halfway down this channel, we're going to attack them and maul this fucking force. They're doing a good job protecting against projectiles, but we still have elite troops here to now close the vise and cinch these guys off, right? This is a little bit like a keep defense in many ways, tactically, and you see what's happening. They're surrounded. They have maybe 8 or 10 guys on their front line, and we have 20 or 30, right? Because we can fight on the edges. They're constricted. These fucking horse archers, and I can't really deal with them. They're constricted and we're not. Can't get too distracted here. So anytime they come through this channel, it's basically just feeding their troops to our god of death, right? This is Odin down here, just being very satisfied, or Mars, choose your god here, being very satisfied by these idiot opponents just serving themselves up to the destructive nature of our army here. Do a little battling here just with these skirmishers. Get out of here. Now I realize another problem I have. There's 2 actually. I just thought of the second one. First, I'm going to run out of ammo, right? The Bannerlord does a pretty good job simulating it. Even Battanian Fiend champs and some of your getting smashed. Even some of your best archers have a limit to how many arrows they have. I think Fiend champs have 60 some. And your other elite archers, like the Khuzate marksman, just ripped his shooting arrow or shooting hand off. Those guys, I think they have 50 or 60 too. Well, so we're running out of arrows here, hence the caution in just opening fire the whole time. When that happens, of course, this strategy is not going to work as well, right? I'm going to run out of the ability to shoot the enemy. It's just not gonna function correctly. Now we do have infantry that are almost exactly like the Spartans, right? The hoplites with our shield and spear, and then a sword on their side. But there's a limit to how much these troops can fight. It's not like I'm fighting, you know, a bunch of guys wearing bathrobes, even though a few of these cavalry guys definitely look like they have Halloween costumes on. Look at this guy jumping over the corpses and then becoming one himself. But I'm going to have to retreat because I'm going to simply run out of troops, right? I'm suffering some losses even though the enemy's suffering more. And if you know how the game's reinforcement system works, well, it kind of drops your... Yeah, you're not shooting, motherfucker. It kind of drops your forces in where you started the episode. Well, if you remember at all, we had to run probably... Look at these other guys are on top of the rock there shooting at us. It's becoming less tenable by the minute. We're going to charge right up into these archers here. Send the 8th Corps. Those guys, they just eviscerated some of those guys. Where was I? So we're going to run out of ammunition. We're going to run out of troops, and my reinforcements are a long ways away, right? I'm going to start looking for them soon, although I see a screen of green right here. Again, what's happening here is just like the Spartans. I have my elite troops just pounding the enemy. And even though we're all just kind of jammed in and it's an even fight as far as numbers, we have the better troops at this stage, right? I've got my elite companion members. That's where reinforcements will be coming from. In fact, yeah, we just got some reinforcements. All right. So what I'm actually going to have to do here, look how far away they are, 380 units. I'm going to actually have to send some of these units in that direction. This is very problematic. I'm basically having to divide my force. If I just tell all these guys in this mass right here that's kind of plugged up this dam to retreat, well, not only will they all get massacred, but the enemy will then be hot on the pursuit of any troops that are retreating. So what I've done is I've sent the 6th, 8th, and one of the archer corps, I think, to retreat. And those guys are basically heading to where the reinforcements are. I can try to help them get out of here. And the rest of those troops, they're basically being the Spartans, right? Leonidas and his Spartans fought to the death, ultimately to try to help the rest of the Greeks escape and maybe save Sparta. You know, in this case, these heroic fucking 30 or 40 guys are still jammed in the hole there, sort of bottling up most of the enemies. Yeah, those guys are fucking heroes. So we're moving to the second phase of this battle. In reality, of course, because the enemy, first I'll run out of ammunition, and the enemy's plenty potent here. It's not like I can kill 30,000 guys with my 300. We're going to reposition. I got to get back here to the reinforcements, and we're going to have a second stage of this battle. Those 30 or 40 guys that are fighting in that channel, I still see them getting kills. You know, they're up there still killing guys, but ultimately they're going to fall. Archer is one of the Atcher, however you want to pronounce it, from the death stream up there. I think he's the 4th Corps captain, so he's in there going to fight it out to the death. And he has something like 300 two-handed skills. So those guys are being heroic while we set up essentially the new lines here. Because the reinforcements are so far away, even if I wanted to, I couldn't reposition these troops and continue the same process. You can see the enemies streaming up after us here. This fucking guy with this flag. Fuck you too. Okay, it looks like about, I can't quite count them, but it's like 30 guys that are sort of holding on, but here's the enemy now streaming around the edges of that. Well, we're going to take advantage of the fact that the enemy's sort of spread out like this. They're archers, a lot of them are archers, and it's actually good strategy to have your archers spread out like this, because they're not all going to be getting hit by the same salvo. Hey, just like the Spartans, they're getting surrounded. The Persians eventually surrounded and annihilated the Spartans. But here comes the enemy against us. What I've done, though, is I've set up the next defensive lines, right? We've got an infantry line in front. We've got an archer line. I got to be careful of my health. That fuck just did major damage to me. I've got an infantry line in the front, and we're basically going to set up archers behind them and try to sort of hold this elevational spot until it becomes apparent that it's not tenable. I got to wipe out some of these horse archers. Damn, I'm fucking these low-level cav are just owning me right now. Yeah, fuck you and the horse literally that you rode in on. Now, so I got archers up here elevated. The enemy's kind of pouring in slowly, so that's at least going to give us a chance to do major damage before they start to concentrate their forces. I got a nice infantry wall down here, very thick. Look at their cavalry's just getting caught up on it, right, so we can behead these fucks. I mean, I see a huge amount of the enemy now pouring through. Hopefully this gives us a chance in this sort of second phase of this battle. If this doesn't work, if it's becoming obvious it doesn't work, what I will do is I will alter tactics again and pull into a ridge battle here. Looking for, there isn't really a good ridge. People who watch the channel a lot know I have a tactic called the Peekaboo Ridge. It's very functional in a variety of circumstances, and this I think will work. I can spread my archers here at the back, a big wide spread, and my infantry in the front. And what it does is it forces the enemy to come over this shallow ridge. It's not optimal. You want a deeper ridge, ideally. And again, I'm retreating in the face of charging cavalry. Just suboptimal, right? Sometimes you got to take the short-term hit for the long-term gain, right? Like this is eating kale. Kale tastes like shit, unless, by the way, if it hits a frost. I'm a gardener, pretty intense gardener. Once kale gets
hit by some cold weather, like some below 32-degree temperature. It's actually pretty palatable. Anyways, the point is you eat kale, it's good for you, you live longer, you're healthier. I'm far healthier than most people that are my age. And part of that's because I'm willing to take sort of the short-term pain of eating, you know, not every meal is ice cream and pizza. Fucking assholes, they're spearing the fuck out of me. Taking my horse out. But the majority of our forces now have repositioned. Sorry for the kale segue there. We'll have these little segues once in a while when my caffeinated mind just wanders. So we're spreading our archers out here, back to killing, right back to tactics. You can see what's going on here. I've got my infantry in a thick line there, and right behind this ridge I have archers. So hence the name of the Peekaboo Ridge. If the enemy comes over that line, right, these cav are a little different, right? There's not that much you can do about 20 cav, right? You can shoot them with arrows. But my main concern here is their vanguard. At this stage, of course, it's not a true vanguard. Here, it's already coming ship. It's basically their infantry block, right? This is like 400 troops probably between their archers and infantry. And I've only got, you know, 70, 80, 71 archers and it's like 70 infantry, right? So what we're doing though, as soon as they get over this ridge, we're attacking aggressively. And it's a little bit similar to the Thermopylae situation. Right in the fucking face. Man, I'm almost dead. I'll probably let this battle play out at this stage because I was able to show tactics if I do get dropped. I'm on normal player damage, so it doesn't take much at this stage. But just like the Battle of Thermopylae, the idea here is that the enemy can't concentrate their forces while ours are concentrated, right? It'd be like a hallway where you and your best friend could take on 10 guys as long as there were only 2 wide in the hallway, right? Get more reinforcements here I can bring up. The idea basically, again, is that their archers are nullified, right? They can't come up and shoot, at least not without taking arrows in the face. And their infantry can't really all band together because we're in the same tight space that they are, right? If they were really smart, they would flank. You know, if you're fighting a human opponent here, you might be in trouble. But this is certainly effective against a standard attack. And by the way, of course, a lot of humans will fight in a very standard method if and when I gotta be very careful. If and when Bannerlord goes multiplayer where you can fight people in big titanic battles like this. Some of these tactics, ooh, that was almost it right there. My shield hit on back. Or hit shield on back rather. That might have saved me. You know, these tactics probably still will work in a lot of circumstances. And at this stage, all we're doing is letting the enemy come to us, right? They outnumber us significantly, so they're going to continue like mad dogs, just to pour over that ridge, right into the belly of our destructive forces here, right? I've got infantry spreading out. Notice I'm not sending our troops over the ridge. I won't do that until it's obvious that we're going to win, or that it's obvious that they have a weak force there that we need to attack. Like these archers force me to attack. You can see their guys loading up over there. Right? They are getting hit by our archers though. Look at the deadly arrow fire pouring in on those guys, right? That guy just took a headshot. They're coming in, they're getting shot in the head, and I have this infantry line here that prevents a large force of the enemy from getting over the hill. If they were to send a large force, all of these angry infantry that are all in shield wall right now and doing a good job defending themselves, they will all be sent over like fucking rage, like someone who's enraged on the road, right? They will lose their mind and attack the enemy with reckless abandon. So a little bit of a skirmish here. The enemy seems hesitant to come over the ridge. I don't blame them. Real troops, right? You'd be like, wow, I'm not going. I see what's happening to the rest of my friends. They're getting annihilated. I'm not going to be the next one. I see mostly archers, so we're going to charge. They can't really shoot our guys because we're in shield wall and right up on them, so we're going to charge. Look at how our division is just pouring through, right? It's a screen of green. They can't really shoot us because they're all clumped up, and we can just plow through them with this big heavy wave of infantry. I see even more enemy coming over on the other flank there. It just takes one little tiny arrow here to drop me. But at this stage now, I could just have that group plowing through them. And again, rinse and repeat. We don't need to go down that valley and fight all 700 or 800 or whatever that was. It was a huge mass of the enemy, right? We just push that amount of enemy back, and we'll rinse and repeat the strategy. I might have been able just to bull our way to victory there, but we've still got this ridge here. I still have troops with ammunition. The enemy's sort of following us here. These are archers that have kind of lost their mind. They're chasing after our elite infantry. Well, good luck, fellas. I mean, you guys have absolutely no chance. So I've got this extra division coming in on the side here. We can just have these guys maul them too. Now I have 2 different infantry divisions, which is nice to be able to actually run some tactics. I can have one on the flank here, cut off these guys that are pursuing, and change the song. Sorry about that, folks. There's a song that I have set up on one of my playlists that gets a little buggy. Pardon the interruption. But now that I have multiple infantry divisions, we should be able to do some nice tactical things, or at least bull the enemy out of here. They're sending in a huge infantry wave. We're going to do a combined attack, right? These guys can all come in at this point. At this stage, I have 1 archer division that's out of ammo. They're charging, and both of those infantry divisions are sort of spread so that they can get some flanking action, and then they can charge as well. Meanwhile, I still have an archer division that's raking the enemy. You can see them being shot as they come over the hill. I'm like 1 shot away from dropping. Fuck you and your shields. I'm gonna fight this down to the last man. And as long as not too many enemy get over the top of that hill shooting arrows, this strategy should work. I do film losses. This is certainly a battle that could turn in the wrong direction. I don't know how many reinforcements I have. I purposefully don't give the users or myself a count of how many people are left for the suspense of it. So that way we're never sure, you're never sure whether or not we're going to lose a close battle or win a close battle. I think a good story is one where the ending is unknown, right? Part of the reason like The Dark Knight was such a good movie with Heath Ledger, besides his amazing acting, was that you were never really sure whether or not the Batman was going to win, right? Whether or not The Dark Knight was going to succeed, because the Joker just seems so incredibly badass. That, you know, a good story is one where victory is not assured. And that's a similar situation with my campaign. I'm fighting 7 kingdoms. It's been extremely difficult. I'm just letting these guys mow the road. I don't have to do much here. I'm just going to keep my head down. So I don't get shot off my horse like that companion. I'll pull to the side here, out of reach of these arrows. Yeah, shit, when he fucking aimed at me, I was like, that was it. The point is, though, is that I'm going to try to keep these episodes a little suspenseful, right? You're not going to be sure whether or not I'm going to win. I mean, at this stage, I know most watchers know we're going to win, right? We're absolutely mangling the enemy at this point in the battle. But I want a little bit of suspense for the average watcher. You know, just like the Battle of 300, where ultimately they lost. It's nice to have some suspense, right? Fairy tales are good and all for like 7-year-old kids, but we all know real life is a lot more complicated, a lot more difficult. So now that we have a few minutes here, you know, while my enemy forces its way down the enemy's throat here to finish him off. So the real Battle of 300 was epic. It was, you know, depending on which historical context, what source you look at, the Spartans did fight, you know, something like 20 to 40,000 Persians. And at one point it was the 300 Spartans, but they had allies, they had friends. They kind of tried to show it in the movie 300, but they almost never make Hollywood movies anything realistic, you know, to actual history. Whether it's Braveheart, Last Samurai, or the Battle of 300, the Spartans, I mean, sure, they had 300. They also had the 700 Thespians. They had like 400 or 500 Thebans. They had Phoenicians, not Thebans. I think it was Thebans. You know, they had plenty of help. It wasn't 300 against 20,000, but it still was an amazing battle. It was still a great strategic approach by the Spartans. It's just unfortunate sometimes that Hollywood just alters the facts. Just like this most recent ridiculous Napoleon movie. I was a huge fan of Ridley Scott and a lot of his movies. Kingdom of Heaven has some fairly accurate historical elements to it, but the Napoleon movie really is not good at all. It's not close to fact at all. They tried to jam 15 years of probably the most incredible single person in the last 500 years into a 3-hour movie, 2.5-hour movie, and you're never going to have success doing that. The true Napoleonic story is amazing. It would be worthy of like a 10-year fucking, or at least a 5-year Netflix series. This guy's true rise from impoverished nobility to basically emperor of most of Europe. It really deserved more than just a 2.5 hour blurb with some chick controlling everything he did. Anyways, all rants aside, hopefully this was fun for people to watch. You know, a little simulated Bannerlord Thermopylae here. Hopefully, tactically, you see some obvious benefits of choking your enemy into a narrow spot. Right? We used you know, concentration of forces. We forced the enemy through the use of terrain to come through a nasty spot and really choke off their forces. And then the transition to the Peekaboo Ridge here. You know, hopefully this compilation of tactics, so to speak, is beneficial to the player who's struggling to win fights, you know, where you're outnumbered like this. I can't remember exactly. It was 2,500. Yeah, so 2,500, and I think we had 800 or 900, right? So we're almost outnumbered 3-1, and here we are at the end of the day, we're victorious, right? So hopefully people enjoyed this episode. Yeah, Bannerlord, there's a lot more to it than F1, F3. Our channel now has over 100 videos showing different scenarios, right? I got my heroic picture here with the 8th Corps at the end of battle. Some of these guys amazingly survived. They're just covered in blood. There's like one guy shot off his horse over there. Anyways, hopefully you gained a few things from this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We're starting to dial in our mic here. And there'll be more to come, folks, as we try to show you advanced tactics in some of the most difficult situations you can find. So thanks again for watching. Please comment, like, all that kind of stuff. Dislike if you didn't like the video, that's fine. And I'll see you fellas next time.